All right, let's just start with we haven't talked to you in a while, and now some of the former UConn Huskies are playing in the NBA Summer League. We saw Cam Spencer played well in his first outing. We just saw Stephon Castle play against Donovan Clingan, which was a little odd to watch those two on their respective NBA teams for the summer. What are your thoughts on the Summer League in particular in trying to get these guys up to speed with some of the NBA talent?
Well, first of all, the Summer League, and when I was there with the MSG and the Knicks going back a few years, it was a little different. There were legit, all the rookies played, and there were free agents available that could potentially make your roster. But as time has gone on over the last, I would say, 8 to 10 years, it's more of an audition for guys who don't have a spot in the NBA and are just trying to hang on, trying to hook up with somebody, perhaps get an invitation to preseason camp. So you can't read too much into the results, but it's great to see guys like Stephon Castle get off to a good start and Donovan Clingan blocking shots, getting rebounds, and doing what he does. And Cam Spencer shot well in his game. But again, you're not seeing first-rate defense. You're not seeing organization, that you're going against organized teams, perhaps. So a lot of the results that you see, you can't read too much into because the teams aren't really teams. They're not cohesive. They send their second and third assistant coaches to kind of watch over the players. But I like what I saw with Castle. I got to say, I thought that was pretty impressive. And Greg Popovich had some excellent things to say in the broadcast. The Spurs head coach at 5 NBA championships and hadn't been in the playoffs in 5 straight years, but he knows what he sees, and he loved his pace that he played with. I'm trying to paraphrase some of the stuff that Popovich mentioned about Castle, and he said, I just love the fact that he doesn't get too high, doesn't get too low. He plays, he's a smart kid. He looks like he knows what he's doing out there. It's going to be a quick study, he said. That's what I liked about what Popovich said. He'll be a quick study, and any rookie coming in out of college into an NBA environment who kind of gets the way the game's played right away quickly, that'll help them when they go to camp and some preseason games and the early season, games in October and November, because they'll be, up to speed with the way the game's played in the NBA level. So I liked what I heard about Castle. And also what Chauncey Billups said about Donovan Clingan, and Richard Hamilton was actually watching that game in person, and he had some great things to say about Clingan. So I liked what I heard and what I saw from these guys, and obviously they're well prepared at UConn. Coaches mentioning winning programs. I think that's something you can't ignore. I think a player like Castle, who saw nothing but winning, and Clingan as well in the last 2 years, and Spencer last year, and Tristan Newton, there's certain things you don't have to teach a guy. You know what I mean? He understands what it takes to succeed on any level. It's just a matter of getting acclimated to the pro level as quickly as you can.
A guy I just saw a stat line for this weekend as I'm trying to round up all the Summer League stats from UConn players. This one just kills me. I can't wrap my head around it. Man, I hope Adama Sanogo finds a full-time spot in the NBA. Again, 20 minutes, 17 points, 12 rebounds. Like, this guy is just a machine at getting double-doubles. But it's all around that three-point line. That seems like where everyone's head's at when it comes to getting a roster spot. Do you think Sanogo is going to be someone who can come off the bench, spell somebody, and turn somebody's head in this summer league to actually put him on a roster full-time for the NBA?
Ben, I think so. I know everybody is in love with the three-point line. The NBA teams shoot 100 of them in a game between two teams some nights. But he's really different, and you need some muscle, and you need some size and rebounding in a game, even if it's one player, okay? Even if it's one guy on your roster that can do damage in the paint. I think it's something different that a team can throw at another opponent on a given night. And so I think he's got the skills, no question. I think a player like him just has to find a spot. They got to find a coach who sees a way to get his 20 minutes, effectively onto the court. in a portion of a game where you can change the game a little bit, or at least keep it even. That's what we used to hear all the time from the Jeff Van Gundy's of the world and the coaches like Pat Riley. When you bring your bench guys in, they have to keep it even, stay even, don't fall behind, don't get hit by a big run by the opponent. And if a guy like Sanogo can produce those kind of numbers on a regular basis, I just think he's got to find the right roster. He's got to find a roster where he might become a backup to somebody, and when he comes in, he delivers. And when he delivers, believe me, coaches are always going to find time for guys, and I hope it happens for him.
Talking to Mike Crispino, UConn Sports Network, also former NBA play-by-play guy. Let me ask you about, you got rookies, sophomores, undrafted. Who is the summer league the most important for?
That's a good question. I remember years ago, and this is going back a little. Nate Robinson came in with the Knicks. He was an undersized guard, and he won the MVP of the summer league out in Vegas. He was fabulous. I think that year they played 6 or 8 games out there, and he was unbelievable what he was doing. I think he got attention. Okay, and I think coaches really looked at him as, wow, this guy could help us right away. So I think it's free agents that have been floating around a little bit, and maybe they were second-round draft picks a year or two ago, and they've gotten better and improved their game, and they find their way into a summer league stretch where they get 3 or 4 or 5 games in a row where they play a lot of minutes. I think it's those guys. I think the rookies on your team that got drafted in the Zach Edey's of the world, and he had a good start to his little summer league run. Yeah. But I think those guys, they're going to play as the season progresses and opens anyway. I think it's the free agents who don't have a spot but have improved over the last year or two from where they were when they originally got drafted. Say they were second-rounders, didn't cut it in camp, and then found themselves floating around, two-way contracts, that kind of stuff. Those guys find their way into the league sometimes, and they are legit because they've had a lot more experience. They've had 3 more years of professional experience. And so I think it's those guys who are going to make an impression, find their way into a roster, and do some damage.
Your New York Knicks doing some damage in the offseason. A lot of people said they had the best one in the recent weeks, especially when their superstar is leaving $100 million off the table. Or on the table, excuse me. Friday, we learned of this news that Jalen Brunson was going to make room for some other possibilities to add to the roster for the New York Knicks. Man, you don't see that like in any sport anymore. Even the Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes aren't leaving this kind of cash. But do you think the Knicks will use it? Do you think they will make right by Jalen Brunson and giving them a little bit more wiggle room when it comes to cap?
Oh, I would think so. I mean, you have to reward a guy for doing that in the short term. He may be thinking about his next contract. I mean, I don't know how many more he'll get. He's 27 years old. He plays a lot of minutes. He certainly deserves a bump, and he got it. But he didn't overwhelm the Knicks with demands for what I should get paid, like Paul George did as he left the Clippers and came to Philadelphia. So I think if Jalen Brunson continues to produce like he did, I mean, he was 5th in the MVP voting. He had a couple of those 50-point games. He had 47 against Philly in the playoffs. He did a lot of amazing things this year. I think if he continues to deliver those results, the Knicks will maybe a year or 2 down the road rewrite his contract. I think that's probably what's going to happen. For now, in the short term, he gives them flexibility. He gives them a chance to maybe sign a free agent that might help them right now, and they need some help. They need some help in the middle. I mean, they lost Hartenstein, and that's going to be tough to replace that guy. So they're going to need some money to spread around to someone else. So I like what Brunson did. He showed he was unselfish and team-oriented. And you're right, very few guys do that anymore. They're all about now and how much and when am I getting it. You know what I mean?
Been watching the MLB draft the last couple of days, and so far they're drafting a lot of position players. Usually it's about 30, 40 pitchers in the top 100. Your thoughts on college baseball, some of these guys playing 5-6 years, maturing in college instead of the minor leagues, and the way the draft might look this year?
Well, I saw the Yankees are going to pick 2 big right-hand pitchers, so they're looking at starting pitching, and they've had their issues with that lately. So I don't think it's all about position players, but you're right. They are looking at players who can help them every day in a 162-game season with pitching maybe not quite as a premium anymore. I mean, when you got a starter going 5 innings, you're really looking for relief pitchers, guys who can get 6 outs. So I got to believe that players in college baseball who have had multiple year runs, like Caglione in Florida and people like that who have more experience maybe than you would have gotten in a minor league season under high leverage scenarios. I think those guys are going to be helped, and they're going to get looked at closer by major league teams, and they should be because they have more experience. And I think experience, if these major league teams can kind of, I don't want to say shortchange the guys who don't have experience, but I think if they can find guys with a little more experience, a little older, they can fast-track them to the majors a little quicker. I think that's what you're going to see in Major League Baseball drafts going forward.
All right, Giants got that James Tibbs III. You know all about this dude, spoiling the party for UConn Hook C baseball. How good is James Tibbs III going to San Francisco?
I think he's going to be great. He looks like a professional hitter. We saw him 2 days in a row, and he didn't have a bad at-bat that I saw. I watched him in the College World Series. They got him a couple times there. But he reminds me of Will Clark a little bit with his left-hand swinger, got power, he can hit it to all fields. He never looks like, I don't want to say, he never looked bad at the plate. And most hitters get fooled by change-ups and other things that they don't see coming. But I tell you what, he had great patience and poise in the box, and when he got his pitch to hit, he knew what pitches to really lace into, if you know what I mean. Even his base hits were hit hard. The home run that knocked UConn out was a ridiculous bomb. Obviously, that thing was hit over 400 and something feet. So he's got the power, he's got the bat, a quick bat twitch, and he's got the great knowledge of the strike zone. He just doesn't look bad in any at-bats. That was impressive to me, and I think he's going to do well in the majors. I don't know how soon he'll be in there, but the Giants got to love that pick.
Mike, as far as UConn and getting back in football and things like that, what are some of the important dates to you coming up?
Well, they're going to be into summer practice very soon. And I think that'll be really important. Obviously, they got to incorporate a bunch of new kids that are on the team that came through the portal. They have the coordinators that have changed up now. We got 2 different coordinators at defense and at offense. And I think they're going to improve in those areas. Jim Moore will be the head coach, obviously overseeing the whole thing. I think that gives him a much better understanding of what's happening with every individual player on the team. I think that can only help. And, looking ahead, they start with Maryland on the road. Then they have a bunch of home games. I like what it looks like early for them. If they can decide on a quarterback and get the wide receiver room producing and scoring points, that's the key. Will they have a high-paced, potent offense to go from 20 points a game to 30? If you can do that, then they're going to have a great chance to have a great year. But they got to improve in those areas. They've got to get better at forcing the ball down the field and pressure on other defenses. And with the new defensive coordinator coming from Mississippi State, we're facing SEC opponents every week. I got to believe he's going to know some things that some of those players don't know at Stores when he gets on board with them, because you look at what that SEC puts together every week against you offensively, and you got to defend that. I think UConn's in a great position with their coordinators and the Jim Moore coaching tree now that's set up for this season. So I think that's camp, and there's no exhibition games. That's the problem. But I do believe they're going to be an improved team, and I think if things fall their way, they're going to have an excellent season. But you got to win close games, and you got to defend well enough to keep teams, under 30, and you got to try to get to 30 on offense. If you do that, I think they got a real good chance to have an excellent year.
Mikey, you're always the best, always available for us, man. We love you. Thank you so much for being a part of our team.
Thank you, Mike.
You got it, Rob. Anytime. Ben, good to talk to you.
All right.
That away, Crispino.